Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome along to Spy Curious. Mike Evans and Andrew Baldock are your hosts today in the absence of Casey Pine, who isn't here. G'day, Andrew.
G'day, Mike. How are we?
Very well, mate. For those who don't know Andrew Baldock, tell us who you are, where you work and what you do, please, mate.
All right. So, Mike, I'm a private investigator that's been working for the last 10 years within the industry. I've been the secretary of the AISP in 2019. No longer do that due to having so much work myself that I had to walk away from that. I work within the industry predominantly undertaking Victorian Work Cover Authority claims. A lot of that has been mental health with my former background of a psychiatric nurse over the last 10 years, but I've found that that has led me to getting so much work that I'm knocking work back all the time.
That's great, mate. I'm pleased to hear it, and it's very nice to have that background. So about a decade as a licensed PI now?
Yes, Mike, yeah.
Good on you, mate. Okay. G'day, Amber. Hello, Michelle. Great to see you. Thanks for checking in, Joy. Really good to see you. Thanks for letting us know you're watching. Otherwise, Andrew and I are just talking to ourselves. So
we'll try get a bit of female attention here, Mike.
Yeah, that's right, mate. It'll be all time first for me. So, buddy, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to have a look at a whole lot of things. There's job vacancies and stuff like that. And if you're after a job in investigations, people, this is our Facebook page where we curate the jobs that are available. And just as I came on this morning where I loaded all the jobs up today, I couldn't record them to show you today. But if you go to this jobs page, there's some fantastic vacancies for factual and circumstance investigators, Queensland, New South Wales, Victoria, South Australia, Western Australia, all there on that jobs page for surveillance and circumstance and factual investigators. So that's where you go. Now, the big news today, and this is before Andrew's time when he started in workers' compensation, this is absolutely astounding news. If you go to this website, you're going to see a job for 2 days a week for a work for the dole safety officer. Now, work for the dole ceased 20 years ago. It stopped. And for investigators, it was one of the best sources of work that you could get, because these were people that were forced into work doing something they didn't want to be doing, hadn't physically worked for a long time, and were high risk to being injured at work due to the fact that they weren't used to digging, lifting, carrying, that sort of activity. G'day, Nesreen, how you going? A lot of people use this program to network, so don't be afraid, people, to say g'day to some of the people in the chat and be a networker there. And Michelle asked a question. Hi, Michelle, great to see you. Asked a question last week. Or made a comment last week during Spy Curious about the type of work she does, and it's mainly office dispute work in relation to workers' compensation. It was a really good observation, because that's a lot of workers' compensation work. Two people having an argument at work and someone puts in a grievance or a complaint and leaves work and can't work there anymore. Now, the reason you get this type of work that Michelle said she's experiencing is what they try and do in the workplace is settle workplace arguments early by early intervention. And if they can get a record of interview from both sides, the complainant and the respondent, in the early stages, then it doesn't blow out to be a full workers' compensation psychological injury claim a year later. And this is what they're doing. So this is why you will see a high number of office or retail or warehouse or mining or forestry disputes. And you will go in and take witness statements, that sort of thing, put in a report, then they will sort it out themselves in relation to that at the workplace through work cover and try and alleviate the situation. So what you're doing is you're allowing the complainant and the respondent to express their worldview, which they have every right to, okay? And it's documented so that they can work with it. We had in class where Andrew and I were teaching a couple of years ago, a state manager from a public service organisation. He had a 7-year-long dispute in his office over one lady who liked to sit there in the office with the window open and another lady who liked to sit there with the window shut. And that dispute went on for years in the public service. So they're paying you to do it, people. I'm sure you're all going to enjoy it. Okay. You've had investigations like that, Andrew?
I have, but I should probably add, Mike, you don't need to just stick to work cover here, because I've had situation where I've had private jobs that I've done where I've been engaged by national companies that have wanted something basically sorted out ASAP, or they want to find out more about what they're up for. So they might have a CEO that's been alleged to have bullied and harassed someone, and they want to know, well, you know, there's a 15-year-old schoolgirl on work experience, and she's making the allegations against this CEO. So they want to find out because they're worried about their image, they're worried about their reputation and everything else. Now, some of those jobs are $275 an hour.
Yep.
Yeah, they don't come along very often, but they do come along. Yep. And really, it's a matter of how well you market yourself as well.
Yeah. So it's look, it sounds like a lot of pain and suffering listening to other people's arguments, but it's part of what we do in between the other sort of larger ones, and it's part of the pathway getting into the larger ones. I thought it was a great observation that that's what it seems like. But later on, when the other ones start to come in and they're bigger and more complex, you're prepped for it, you've had a lot of practice. So really great observation, and thanks for sharing it with everyone last week, Michelle.
The other thing that you sort of see there too, Mike, though, is when you're doing an investigation of this type, you'll hear one side and you might sort of form a bit of a view of what's going on, but it's not until you hear the other side that you sort of realise that the truth's probably halfway in between somewhere.
Yep, that's right. Exactly. That's right. You're getting both sides of the argument. G'day, Chris. Congratulations, mate. Your certificate should have arrived today. I hope it's there, buddy. Thanks for checking in and saying g'day. And congratulations on graduating this week with a certificate through in investigative services, Chris. Good on you, mate. Well done. Very well deserved. One of the questions I got asked today, I won't say who it was from, but the person who asked the question was from this place, one of Andrew's favourite places in beautiful Queensland. Do you know what this is, do you, Andrew?
I certainly do, Mike. It's my favourite. So it was when I was still drinking.
Okay, so the person who asked the question is from this place. I hope you can see it on the label. There it is. Okay, so anonymous from here, okay, right, asked this question. Hang on. Hi, everyone. I've completed Cert 4 in Government Investor studying the diploma with the ASA. I wish to do Cert 3 Investors in the future, and I'm seeking to connect. Oh, okay. Michelle's seeking people to network with. So, hey, everyone, get in touch with Michelle. You send her a private message and let her know your experience with being a PI. Michelle's interested in networking and finding out. Very brave move, Michelle. Well done.
Mike, my comments section is actually turned off at the moment for some reason. I can't respond to these guys.
That's all right, mate. I'll tell you. I'll show you the comments when they come up. There's a comment there now that says, "Great point, Mike." There's another one that's a good idea, Mike. And another funny joke, Mike. There are just 3 recent comments there that you can't see, Andrew, that I'm sure you know are all there. So anyway, the question we got from Bundaberg was, what do loss adjusters do? And what's the deal with loss adjusters? So let's have a look just quickly at what loss adjusters do. So in the insurance news recently, David Cambridge came out and said that he employs loss adjusters. It's a very small industry. You know, we're looking for people. There's a real war for talent in loss adjusting at the moment. Now, this is what David said in the insurance news, that all the loss adjusting firms are at war with each other to get talent for loss adjusting to come and work for them. So I wondered what a loss adjusting war looks like, and this is what I reckon it looks like. So that's what I imagine a war between loss adjusters would look like. It's pretty hectic, wasn't it, Andrew?
Yes. Thought it might have been Putin.
It can get pretty ugly out there, right, between Baz and Ethel, like fighting over who's going to work for who. But what David said was he's introduced as a solution to, his issue with attracting talent. He's basically decided to have a cadet program there. So it's in the insurance news that at technical assessing, due to the war for talent, you can read all about it in the insurance news, that they've got a cadet program at technical assessing. Now, loss adjusters, what do? We're private investigators. I'm a loss adjuster, okay? They do very similar work to what we do on certain levels, and they do more complex work on other levels. Yeah, that's right, my word.
Yeah, I agree with that, Michelle.
Like a book, Michelle.
Yeah, that's certainly true.
That's right. That's very, very true. So, so what do loss adjusters do? Let's have a quick brief look at what loss adjusters are all about. So let's say, okay, for example, the business is a fashion retail business, ladies fashion, and they sell, clothing that's maybe brand clothing, a little bit upmarket, and, the T-shirts are $60 each, and people still go out and shop and don't buy stuff online. So it's a very successful business. But most unfortunately, it's based in Victoria and it's right next door to a tobacconist. And basically, they sell vapes and stuff like that. And as is usual in Victoria at the moment, due to the tobacco wars, the business suddenly burns down. Bit of a theme going on here today, Andrew, with this cannabis, mate, from the previous presentation. What did you say that burns 10 times hotter?
It burns about 3 to 4 times hotter. If someone's smoking marijuana, it's 3 to 4 times hotter in the lungs than tobacco. Oh, marijuana is it, I should say. Yeah.
So that explains why this guy's vape's coming out his ears. Right. Okay. So anyway, the business is burnt down. This is where the loss adjuster comes in. So the loss adjuster is going to calculate the loss, not the fire. They're not going to investigate the fire. The business has put in a claim for business interruption. So the insurance company needs to establish the value of the stock that was in the shop that day. When you take out an insurance policy today for business insurance, there are 20,000 questions and a whole system that goes, what's your stock at hand currently? What have you got to be delivered in the next month, in the next 6 months, in the next 3 months? What stock have you got that's gone out of fashion or is on sale? All of that is recorded in the insurance company's system. Then based on the daily sales records that, that are still available, they were, in some kind of backup computer in another building that didn't burn down because it's part of 3 shops or something like that. The loss adjuster calculates the value of the stock that was lost, calculates depreciation from stock that was out of fashion or reduced down in price or something like that, depreciates the cash registers and the equipment in the shop, the kettle from the staff tea room, 3 rolls of toilet paper. They're working all that out, and they say, based on the stock at hand at the time and the equipment purchased from all the records, we have calculated that the loss for this business that they have to be paid for their stock alone is X amount. This shop will not be rebuilt and reopened for another 3 years. So based on the sales records of that shop over the past 6 years, we calculate that their loss until they re-establish the business is going to be this moving forward, and they're insured for it. Give them the money. So it's a complex business interruption matter. Now, they still do workers' compensation injuries, but they do your more complex claims that are going to be more expensive. So this is what they're doing at technical assessing, hence the name, technical assessing, okay? All right, and they're war for talent for other loss adjusters. All loss adjusters are trying to pay loss adjusters more money to come and work for them because there's not a lot of them. Look, there's less than 1,000 members of one industry association of loss adjusters, okay? And you can just call yourself a loss adjuster. You don't even have to have qualifications in it, okay? And you can just go out and be a loss adjuster, which is quite incredible, but they'll find out that you've got no qualifications and training in it later on when you do your first report, and that's where it all falls over. So it's not just retail shops that just happen to be, you know, next door to a tobacconist in the tobacco wars in Victoria and New South Wales. Other things that loss adjusters do. So commercial floods in buildings. The building, as a result of the floods and the water, is uninhabitable by any of the tenants in the government departments or corporations that rent that building. They've got to go and find another space. So the business interruption that they're insured for has got to cover them for the loss of their computers and technology and any, you know, stuff that they may have had, their equipment, furniture, all that sort of thing. And a loss adjuster is going to do a calculation on that. Crop losses. So hail damage, storm damage, hail damage, storm damage, flood damage, fire damage. The farmer loses the crops on the scale of what you're looking at there. It's going to be a massive loss due to a hailstorm in Gatton or something like that. So right now, that farm has plants there, lettuces and cabbages and carrots and all that sort of stuff.
Marijuana.
Marijuana, like Andrew has pointed out, is being sent to, this is medical marijuana. It's all legal. There's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly okay. All right. Okay, so that gets destroyed by the hailstorm. The loss adjuster is the person that's engaged to carry out the investigation into that. Major engine failures or big, you know, equipment failures. So the shopping centre loses its air conditioning or the plane loses both engines on the tarmac. A loss adjuster is engaged to look at not how it happened. They've got accident reconstructionists and engineers for that, but they're looking at the loss of the value and the replacement value and the depreciation of that plane, which was 12 years old. All this stuff comes into it. So they are looking at the depreciation, calculating that, saying that this claim now, today, is worth X amount at the end. And then the insurance company writes a check, gives it to the insured place and says, there you go. If the insured place isn't happy, they get a loss assessor. A loss assessor is an antithesis of a loss adjuster. So a loss assessor looks at it and they say, well, no, we disagree with that. We've calculated this, this, and this. And then the insurance company's lawyers and the claimant's lawyers get together and look at both sides of it, and then they agree somewhere in the middle on the value because the loss assessor got involved as against the loss adjuster. So that's how that happens. So yachts, really expensive things like yachts damaged, you know, while they're at the berth or something like that, because of works going on around them, whatever, that's what a loss adjuster will be involved in. So we had a loss adjuster in Victoria. There was a building being constructed above one of the marinas there, and rocks kept falling off in the process of whatever was going on, hitting and damaging the yachts, and there was major damage to these really expensive $1 million plus yachts. And of course, the owners were enraged about it, but the loss adjuster had to go and calculate the damage to every yacht and the repairs, that sort of thing. So this isn't just a couple of cars worth 30 grand each damaged, right? Or someone injured with a broken arm in a car accident. It goes beyond that. So that's what loss adjusters do. Some of them will have qualifications in engineering or construction or building, that sort of thing. So, you know, for floods and fires and collapses of buildings, that sort of thing, that's when a loss adjuster's engaged. Now, let's go back to this, and thank you for asking that question in Bundaberg. Really appreciate that. Let's go back to why we brought Andrew along today. We want Andrew to talk us through how he's going to approach this one, because this came out in the news this week. So what we've got is a council employee is deemed eligible for compensation after tripping over a puppy fence while working from home. So this was something the employee says she would have done had she been working in the office around the same time, as she did not have set times for short breaks over the course of her working day. So she was going to take a break. She noted that the council had encouraged the employee to get up from her desk regularly, which I guess there's safety, they should. The judgment noted when the employee took her paid coffee break, which she's allowed to at home, working from home, she needed to walk through the doorway across from where she had erected the pet fence. As the fence was there, the employee says that she had to step over it. When doing so, her left foot, the trailing foot, caught the top of the pet fence, causing her to lose balance and fall forward. The employee was perfectly permitted to work from home. She suffered a humerus fracture, which isn't funny, and injured her right knee, and she landed on her right side. She made the claim against the local government association workers' compensation scheme. So let's have a look at it. So, so here we go. Here's Thumper, right? He's at home in the workplace, and here's Muffy. Muffy's at home in the workplace, and this fence is to keep Muffy away from Thumper, okay, because Muffy can be a little bit rough, all right? And our worker has stepped off her chair, off her computer workstation. She's gone towards the fence. She's tripped over the fence. No harm has come to Muffy or Thumper. No pets were harmed in the making of this picture in front of you. All right, this is a reenactment. It's not real, okay? And she's injured herself. How would you investigate this, Andrew? What questions would you ask the claimant?
Well, I suppose the first one, you know, that I would like to know is there any contract in place or any work from home arrangement between the worker and the employer? So it might be that the worker's working at home 3 days a week, has been given the opportunity to do so. So I would want a copy of that contract to see. I'd also like to see whether there's been any ergonomic assessment of the work environment from home to see what the worker has actually reported as being the working environment, whether someone's actually come in and had a look to see what's actually there. You know, where is the actual, or what would like photographs to depict where this fence is in relation to the work area. Is there a possibility that it could have been somewhere else rather than where it was when she actually fell? What kind of shoes was she wearing at the time? Now, you can't, I suppose you're at home, you can't really sort of tell them what shoes they can and can't wear, but at the same time, you know, are they wearing stilettos or are they wearing, you know, normal shoes? Has that contributed? Has this kind of thing happened before?
Well, you've got a very good point there, Andrew, because it was her right foot that became stuck in the fence. Now, we don't know what kind of shoes she was wearing, but had she been wearing appropriate footwear, then the shoes would have kicked the fence down and landed on top of them, been too big to go through the holes in the fence. Okay, so this is really important. You, the investigator, are going to say, look, I need to see the shoes you were wearing at the time, and take photographs of them and underneath the shoes as well. Now, they may not be like this, okay? This is an exaggerated one, but if they slip, trip and fall at the nightclub or anywhere else, the shoes that they were wearing at the time is critical, and Andrew's hit that right on the head. But do council workers have to wear safety footwear? That could have been an issue.
Is there a footwear policy? And the other thing is, had she slipped on a rug or something like that? What was the surface that she was walking on?
What was the surface that she was it tiled? Was it carpeted? How old's the carpet? How's it maintained? Who cleans it? All right. Now, the council, the local government associations position is they're paying it. Council employee won the claim for workers' compensation after falling over a pet fence while working from home. The South Australian Employment Tribunal ruled her injuries, including a broken arm, arose out of her employment. So now submissions are going to the Adelaide Workers' Compensation Tribunal about the value of that. So she's going to get X amount for her health care, X amount for her pain and suffering. She's going to receive 80% of what she was usually paid while she recovers. And all being well, she may be back at work in a couple of weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks, we don't know. But this thing, it raises a whole lot of issues with the council policy about pets in the workplace moving forward. If you just saw Andrew's presentation that he had on Investigations UNi about scilliosis claims and previous incidents and pre-injury, injury and post-injury, part of the post-injury was what changes to the workplace must be made. So the council is going to have to look at a pet policy relating to who works in what area, where pets may be contained in what area, what warning signs should be erected to remind workers there could be slip, trip and fall hazards. All of this was just covered in Andrew's presentation.
Well, the other big one, Mike, is she living in a flat, or is she living on a farm, or an environment where it has a backyard, you know, where there could be a race or something constructed outside for the animals?
That's right. Why were they inside? Well, it's Adelaide. It's cold in wintertime, I suppose. I don't know. But you know, the poor old puppy.
The rabbit.
The rabbit. All the rabbit wants parrots and other rabbits. It's quite interesting days in the investigation industry. So Diploma of Loss Adjusting, coming back to that, you can study that at the Australian Security Academy. There are only 2 RTOs in Australia that deliver and assess that program. We're one of them, and all the units that are in it, you can see on our website, and they're there in front of you. And we actually have a lot of people watching this right now who are studying Diploma of Loss Adjusting at the Australian Security Academy. It does not vary very much from basically our investigation work. It's very similar, but sometimes it's going to be highly technical calculations on business loss, right? And that's going to involve disputes between construction companies and shipping companies and, you know, Elon Musk's rocket companies and their fuel suppliers and stuff like that. My visit to Melbourne this week, 29th of November for Melbourne. I'm absolutely booked out. I have no places left for RPL interviews for the Certificate for Security Management for the Security Business Licence in Victoria, which looks like this. So totally booked out all day on the 29th of November. In relation to that, and I'll be in Sydney later on this month for the Victorian Licensed Investigators in Sydney, who require that qualification to be compliant with the new rules for the private security County Court Amendment Act 2024 in Victoria moving forward. So no longer are you able to be a member of an industry association to have your security business license as a choice. That's gone out the window. You must now hold this qualification in relation to holding a private security business license in Victoria, and it's mandatory just like it is in New South Wales. They want to know who owns the organisation and who they are dealing with. Now, we had a question, and I'm really pleased we've got Andrew here, because when I've finished waffling on, Andrew's going to add to this one. So the question is there a way to do some shadowing of factual investigators? Who would be best to reach out to for this? I've tried a local one for my area, Sutherland Shire, but they said they were all contracted, so it would be too hard to do. Well, you need to move to Bundaberg, where things are a lot easier. But what happens as you're studying this, because you're unlicensed, you can't really have access to the claimant's confidential information and the claim, and you cannot really, as an unlicensed investigator, go out and watch anyone take a statement from a witness due to confidentiality and client service level agreements. Isn't that correct, Andrew?
That's right. I've had several people come out with me, but my standard operating procedure is that they must be licensed before they can come out with me. I'm not going to take somebody out and potentially give them access to documents and then find that I'm going to be the one in trouble.
Yep. Now, every time you've done that to help out a licensed investigator who's been offered a job at a workplace and they needed to see how a statement was taken. You did it, I did it. We went and watched someone else. I had to do it for 6 months before I got my head around it, right? But we all do it. And every workplace is going to give you that opportunity. Not when you're studying, unfortunately. They can't do it because they've got confidentiality agreements signed with the insurance companies who are their clients. They can't. But when you're licensed, that's when they can send you out to, and it was said, shadow, and that's what it is. You're there watching someone else take a statement. I have watched other people take statements on literally thousands of occasions, and I have taken statements with other people watching me on literally 1,000 occasions, and nobody you interview minds. As long as you explain to them, look, George is here or Jane is here to learn the statement-taking process as we do it in our workplace in relation to workers' compensation claims. Do you mind if she watches? And they'll go, no. Simple as that. You don't have to put it in the statement, right? You don't have to, that's not relevant. You just say this person's here to watch how we do it. It's as simple as that.
The other thing I'd probably say there, Mike, is when you go out and you start shadowing people and you look at getting your own investigations to undertake, I would probably suggest very strongly that you don't give up your other job straight away, because you're only going to be wanting to take on 1 or 2 jobs maximum at a time when you first start until you get your head around it. And then eventually it will come that you'll take on more jobs. And then that's when you might think about giving up your other job to do this either part-time or full-time, whatever you decide to do. But certainly it's not a job where you want to be starting off getting 4 jobs and then all of a sudden you find you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah, you don't want to be in over your head at the beginning, because that will overwhelm you. So it's a matter of go out. What the workplace will say is, we want you to go out for a week with one of our investigators and watch them take statements. Now, the investigator is going to be working 2 days a week, playing golf 1 day a week, running the kids around to the choir another day a week. So they're going to maybe day and a half. Don't tell the employers that. Shh.
Jeez,
don't tell anyone.
I'd like to meet that investigator, mate. They're obviously not busy enough.
Right. It won't be for a week or 2 weeks or 6 months like I had to do, right? You'll get it very quickly, just how casually, professionally, and how could I say it, smoothly, the statement taking process is done by watching someone else. You'll watch them type. or you'll watch them operate a recorder, depending on who you're working for and what it is. Is it a good job, Andrew?
Yes, it is a good job. It does have its moments like any job, but generally speaking, it's a good job because you're able to pick and choose when you work. You set your hours. So if I want to go off like I did yesterday and go swimming, I'll go swimming, and then I might come back and pick up the job in the evening and might type a report up, and I might go to bed at 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning because I've got time to do so. It's really up to me. I'm a subcontractor, so I choose what I take on and what I don't take on.
And you've got choices to balance your work life, your family life, your recreational life, your spiritual life. You've got choices with that because you've decided to do it. If you work full-time as an investigator, well, you've got a lot less choices, all right? Your productivity's got to match what you're being paid. That's really important. If you're a subcontractor and you want to take it easy, you can. Andrew, could you move to another country and work from there?
Certainly could, quite easily.
Because you can conduct
Microsoft
interviews
Teams, easy enough. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
now,
it's often that you might be interviewing somebody who's a CEO who's traveling to India or Scotland or Thailand or America. So what's the difference? The court system can use a system to be able to interview people that are not present within the courtroom. So there's no difference.
Yep, that's right. And the statement you take, they're going to sign it eventually somehow through the system. How do you get it signed, Andrew?
I send it to them in a Word format, and
yep.
I get via email. And what I do is I get them to review it. Once they're happy, I get them to save it as a PDF, sign it, have it witnessed, and send it back to me.
Perfect. All right. So it can be done, and that's allowable under the rules for the workplaces that you work for. Some might not allow that. It might be different. And in some cases, it's got to be a face-to-face interview. Well, Andrew can say, well, I just want to do the online ones, and that's Andrew's choice. Okay. Others will do a mix of both. Some people just want to do desktop investigations and just locate people. Well, you can. All right. So there are a lot of opportunities to work the way you want to in relation to getting paid work as a licensed investigator. Andrew, mate, thanks for watching. Thanks for coming in. Everybody, thanks for watching. Really appreciate your attention this week. Don't forget, there's a war on in loss adjusting. It's getting pretty hectic out there. So, if you want to become a loss... They'll fight over you to have you there. So that's really, really important. If you want to see jobs vacancies that are available, there's a lot of jobs this week. Go to our Facebook page on Facebook. Here it is. I'll bring it up for one last time. Australian Private Investigator, Corporate and Government Investigation Jobs. You'll see our jobs listed there. Our pleasure, Michelle. Thank you very much for your participation today. Thank you for your participation today, Michelle. Yes, yeah, that's right. The hours is definitely the big bonus with this job, my word.
Great.
That's right. You can work the hours you want to. So that is a really big bonus. And quite a positive. So thanks for watching, everyone. Stick around, Andrew. We'll debrief in a minute. We'll see you next week. That was episode, people, 296 of Spy Curious. We'll be back next week with episode 297. See you then.
작전 종료. 전원 복귀할 것.